After just 4 months in charge, the Biden administration is already resetting American life. And this is something I really need you to understand. It's not all happening through Congress. This is Woodrow Wilson's dream come true. A large administrative state where nobody has responsibility because nobody really knows who did it. And it's all happening under one man. And it's not Joe Biden. Notice, in everything Biden does and every speech he stumbles through, the policy and the messaging is ruled by equity, environmentalism, or both. During Biden's first 100 days in office, he issued more executive orders than Obama and George W. Bush combined during their first 100 days. One of Biden's executive orders in March was promoting access to voting, in which he perpetrates the lie that, quote, many Americans, especially people of color, confront significant obstacles to exercising that fundamental right to vote. So his order directs every government agency, the administration, to come up with a plan within 200 days for how it can promote voter registration and participation. Sure, let's get the Department of Homeland Security involved with our registration for voters. Sounds like a great idea. Democrats are obsessed with federalizing the control of U.S. elections. That is 100% clearly, no worry about a comma, unconstitutional. Biden released a statement criticizing the Texas State Senate voting bill, which does absolutely nothing to prevent anyone from voting. Yet Biden calls it, quote, part of an assault on democracy, disproportionately targeting black and brown Americans. How? Well, it would be voter ID. You would have to have ID. Whoa, wait a minute. What about a vaccine passport? Seems like everybody can get one of those. How demeaning will these people get to minorities before minorities stand up and say, shut your mouth? Just this last week, Joe Biden said that blacks, they're good entrepreneurs, but they just don't have accountants and attorneys. When will black America say enough is enough? Well, he's also gone on to Congress to pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act, which has already been passed by House Democrats. Democrats insist the only way to stop these racist voting bills at the state level, which require evil things like voter ID, is for the federal government to take over elections through H.R. 1. And the only way to get there is to eliminate the Senate filibuster. By the way, quick side note on voter ID, new survey out. Finds 46 out of 47 European countries also have voter ID requirements. So I guess that means Europe is systematically racist as well. Oh, yes, the Marxists will tell you yes. Last week, over 100 leading experts signed a statement saying, quote, our entire democracy is now at risk unless Congress passes H.R. 1. Turns out that these experts, made up of university professors, didn't just magically come together to issue this warning. No. It was so grassroots. It was put together by New America. Naturally, grassroots. If you consider Bill Gates, Eric Schmidt, Michael Bloomberg, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and, of course, Apple and spooky dude George Soros, grassroots. Individual states are such a pain in the backside for Democratic, Socialist, and Marxist, really. And their bleak vision for America, Individual communities and families are major headaches as well. They leave way too much room for independent thinking and action. Oh, they get in the way of progress. That's why the hostile takeover of the suburbs and education is underway. You don't know about the suburbs? Oh, you're going to love this. President Biden's infrastructure bill has provisions to end single-family zoning in the suburbs. Remember, he's part of the 2030 crowd. Remember when we talked about Agenda 21? Yeah, now it's Agenda 2030. And they don't like the suburbs very much. They don't. Single-family zoning, Marxists and globalists hate that. Well, here's what his plan does. It's going to dangle federal dollars in front of suburban communities. Now, getting the money would be contingent on getting rid of zoning for single-family homes. I mean, you can't do that, right? By ending single-family zoning, the Biden administration would be able to coerce local governments into allowing lower-income apartments and duplexes to be built in the suburbs. Well, the Biden administration says this is necessary to combat racial injustice in the housing market. And it's not a new idea, he would point out. I mean, in 2015, the Obama administration, issued a rule called Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing, which basically worked the same way. If a suburban community wanted to access the federal money, it had to jump through a whole bunch of hoops, like conducting a detailed analysis of racial and ethnic background and makeup. Oh, that's great. Then they had to develop a plan to fix any imbalances in the access to community assets like parks and schools, transportation, and other things. Well, the Trump administration stopped enforcing that in 2018, but Biden has pledged to bring it back. And now Biden wants to add even more money and more incentives so towns will eliminate a single-family zoning. During his 2020 presidential campaign, Biden also endorsed a plan to withhold federal funds for road repairs. If that suburb where that road is running won't get rid of single-family zoning. Oh, gee, they won't fix our roads. Well, I sure want to pay even more taxes now. In other words, if you don't do exactly what the dictators say, your racist single-family zoning stays, well, then you're just going to have roads that will rot away. In 2018, Minneapolis became the first major city in America to ban single-family zoning. Minneapolis, how's that doing? In 2019, Oregon became the first state to end single-family zoning in all cities with a population of at least 10,000. How's Oregon doing? Don't pay any attention to half of the state that just voted to secede from Oregon. But I'm sure there's no correlation between adopting these policies and, the anarchy in Portland or the anarchy in Minneapolis. None whatsoever.